Welcome to the Backfield Buzz podcast, the Partly High podcast network. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, and Andrew Foster here, as always, keeping you up to date with all things NFL. Hey, and if you want to stay in the know, subscribe, right? Come on,
Yeah,
subscribe.
yeah.
Why not? And if you are interested in other stuff, mainly NHL, we have a lot of NHL content on the channel, so feel free to check that out. But today is our NFL Week 9 fantasy and betting preview. Going to be doing some stardom situms as we usually do, and of course, we'll round up with our best bets. L's across the board last week for the fellas, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Hey Frosty, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in a new space now. I'm my girlfriend's house, so we'll see if a little change of scenery can maybe make me hit a bet.
Hey,
Hey,
I'm a Juju guy, so maybe is there good? Maybe there's good vibes over there.
I'm I'm just gonna say the only parlay I've hit this year and the only game I've won in my fantasy league, my main fantasy league, happened back home when I was in Ottawa. I haven't won anything else since I've come back to Toronto, so it's not that crazy.
Hey, fair enough, fair enough. All right, well let's see if Frosty's got the good vibes. Maybe he goes 6-0 on his start sits this week as well. I know, yeah, 3-3
I've been
last
I've
week.
been I've been cold on that too.
Yeah, what you
I've just
are.
been riding 500 for the last like 6 weeks in a row or something.
So yeah, you're sitting at 24 and 23. Glover is 20 and 28. And did hold on, I need to calculate my score here.
I
Did
think
Fryer
you're
move? Did
I think
Fryer
you're
move?
26 and
I'm trying to pull it up now.
oh god.
Behind the eight ball, Glover. Glover, for anyone wondering, we have our little spreadsheet that we keep these down, and Glover is usually the one maintaining it. Didn't
Yeah.
maintain it. Didn't put in the Monday Night Football.
Hey,
Is that a hit? Is that a hit?
no, no.
Ah,
No.
It was a really good tight end week. Oh,
Oh
actually,
yeah.
sorry, it was a sit, not a start. It did hit. It did hit. It did hit. It
I was
was a
gonna
sit and
say.
hit.
Oh yeah.
I,
Oh yeah. That was a tight end
Eh,
42 this week.
all
yeah.
right, fantastic. So I believe that puts me at 26 and 22, and I'm in the lead. Hmm.
Yeah.
Look at me go. Well, I guess I'll kick things off then. Why not?
It's
Let's start
fair.
with the RBs. And I'm gonna be starting Tony Pollard against the Patriots. And real quick, he is questionable. If he doesn't play, Tajay Spears. Just or the Titans RB that starts. I don't care.
Yeah.
Uh, because New England is allowing the second most rushing touchdowns, the third most fantasy points, and the fourth most rushing yards to opposing RBs. You can run all over these guys. And for Pollard specifically, he's been pretty efficient in his last four games and isn't necessarily touchdown reliant, even though I do think he gets in this game. And there's little potential in the receiving game too. So give me Tony Pollard.
Yeah. I mean, Pollard's been a pretty reliable back this year, and the Patriots defense is terrible, so it makes sense.
Even though I sat him last week and he burnt me, so that's why I'm starting him this week.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was against the Lions. Like you can't expect him to do that against the
Yeah.
Lions. So if he's gonna do it against the Lions, you have to assume that he will against the Patriots.
Yep.
I've been going to the Pollard
Yeah,
well.
you've been hitting
I,
on Pollard.
I started Tony Pollard and it hit, and I sat Tony Pollard and it missed. So all right, to Tony Pollard we go again.
Yeah, I think this is 3 straight weeks. One of us has mentioned Tony Pollard. He's becoming the new Rashad and Zamir
Oh
White.
no. Oh
Well, those
no.
guys have just completely fallen off of fantasy relevance. So the
Oh
white
my God.
combos
I
have
was
subsided.
yeah, I was scrolling through the available running backs in the league, and I scrolled so far, and I got to Zamir White at a projected 2.9 points, man. The that was the off-season oversell, like the off-season miss for everyone. Everyone was so
He
high on this guy, and he comes out and
he
was
was
just
supposed to
It
be
was the
like the darling this year in
yeah.
fantasy.
it was
Like,
the one gym photo. That's all it was.
yeah.
You remember that photo where he just was looking like Hulk?
Well, it was also because he went crazy in like the 3 games he started at the end of last season. He was unreal, and I was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
I got this guy in the seventh round. Let's go! I'm ready to go this year."
What are you gonna do? Well, Glover, are you starting Zamir White this week?
God, no, I am absolutely not starting Samir White. I'm starting Chase Brown. She's playing against Samir White. Chase Brown.
he hasn't fully taken over the snap share in Cincinnati. He's still at around a 50 to 60% snap share, but he's getting all the goal line work. He's become their goal line back. He's getting all the touchdowns, all that sort of stuff. And the Vegas defense, 25th against running backs so far this season for fantasy. I just think it's a really solid matchup. And the Vegas has been pretty good at defending the pass. If T. Higgins misses more time, I expect the Bengals to try and lean on the run, and it'll be all, I think Chase Brown will be the guy who benefits the most.
Yeah, I'm starting Chase Brown too. He's got double-digit carries in five straight, 12 plus in four of the last five. Even though the snap count's like relatively even, I think it's his backfield. I
Yeah,
think it's pretty clear it's his backfield.
he's
Oh,
getting
you
the
could,
meaningful work.
yeah, the last 3 weeks he's clearly taken over as that number one guy. So I thought about Chase Brown, but I ended up going with Tony Pollard. Actually, if Tony Pollard's questionable, I'm going Chase Brown.
Okay.
All right. All right. I
You're
don't
not
know.
if he's out, you're just going straight Chase Brown?
Yep.
All right, trifecta. Here we go. This worked out so well for us last time.
Yeah, when it's happened once, right? And we all sat Kyle
Yeah,
Pitts and then he
and
turned into a
yeah,
god. That's what it took. All right.
We awakened him. He's actually been really good
we
since
we
then.
unlocked Kyle Pitts.
Oh,
We
well, we could
we
take credit for that.
I'd be okay if we unlocked Chase Brown too. I have him both my dynasty team.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, who are we what's the opposite of unlocking? Locking.
Walking
Who
down.
yeah. Frosty, who are you locking down? Who are you sitting? Who are we who's getting the backfield buzz curse?
it worked for me last week. Going, I think might just start following the Ravens around and sitting whatever running back is going to play against the Ravens. This week I'm sitting Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
He just flopped against the Panthers, so it's hard to trust him against a team that is probably the best run defense in football right now. After he couldn't score on probably the worst team in football, so in no way, shape, or form do I think it's reasonable to start Javonte Williams this week.
Yeah, I think it's a solid, like, just start sitting. Like, it's similar to how, we follow Pat Surtain around. It's sort of what we're getting to with this Ravens run defense. It also doesn't help that it's not like the defense is good. The run defense is just good. So it's so easy to just ditch the run and still create your offense. So it makes it really tough to get any running game going for them.
Yeah, maybe somebody else followed Pastor Tan around. Maybe I'll get to that a little bit. But Glover, who are you sitting?
This one pains me. I'm sitting J.K. Dobbins this week. I love Dobbins, and he's like my guy, but his efficiency's taken a serious dip these past few weeks. And Justin Herbert's starting to air the ball a little more, and the pass game's really getting going in LA. It's also a good run defense over there in Cleveland, not so great a pass defense. It's not a great recipe. So he's still the workhorse back. He's still getting upwards. He had 80% an 80% snap share last week. The carries are still there. His efficiency is just really dipping, and he's becoming a little touchdown dependent, getting more receiving work. So he's still like a reliable running back rest of season. But I don't like the matchup, and I think the Chargers offense is starting to develop their pass game a little more, which is shocking to me, but it's working. So I think they'll probably keep going with that against a iffy Browns pass defense.
Yeah, I'm there with you, Glover. I'm sitting J.K. Dobbins as well. Cleveland top 10 in average fantasy points allowed to RBs. Tough to run on them. And like you said, he's been a bit shaky over the last 5 weeks, to be honest. And like you said, perfect point I wanted to bring up was touchdown reliant. Um, if he's not getting a touchdown at this point, it's getting a little sketchy for him fantasy wise. And now we're seeing Lad McConkey kind of come into his own, like you said, with the passing game kind of coming through. So yeah, I'm there with you. You put that well.
Is it he's got to be close to his career high in games now, right? For J.K. Dobbins, at least games like consecutive games played, so it could just be wear and tear on his body because he's not used to playing this much too.
I'm just
Yeah.
checking now. I think you might be right. I think his career high in games played in a row before this was 5,
Well, it's
Yeah.
7. So
and he's at 7. Yeah,
And they leaned on him heavy because their pass game was non-existent
yeah.
for the first like 4 weeks of the year.
Because yeah, like I don't know, he played 6, but as a backup his first 6 weeks as a Raven, and then had 5 as a starter at the end of the season. And since then, he tore his ACL, missed the entire next season. Had the nagging knee injury with the issues with his ACL surgery the next season, and didn't manage to play much. Only played 7 games all year. Tore his ACL the season after that, and now we're here.
I mean, yeah, hopefully let's knock on wood because that Hopefully he doesn't get hurt again. We don't want to see that. But
Love me some J.K. Dobbins, man.
that is your guy, and you're sitting him.
Yeah, he's been my guy
You
since he
also
was
traded him
drafted.
away
I also
in
did trade him
in one of
away.
our
I also
leagues.
did trade him
So
away, but I'm selling a little bit of stock on him this year. I don't think it's gonna be quite the same. I don't think it's gonna continue at the same range. I think it's gonna start to diminish a little bit.
we'll see. We had this conversation when it was like Chargers versus Broncos and whatnot, and I feel like I was saying like wait for this Chargers off, like wait for these guys to figure it out a little bit. I feel like we had that conversation. Could be making that up. I'm not gonna lie. I just wanted to take credit for something smart I said because I don't say very many smart things. All right, let's move on to the wide receivers. Frosty, who are you starting?
I'm starting my favorite waiver wire claim of this season, Cedric Tillman against the Chargers. He's got 21 targets in the last 2 weeks, 15 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He he looks like he's taken the Amari Cooper role, and he has a better quarterback than Amari Cooper did right now. Jameis Winston's airing the ball out, regardless of how many bad throws Winston's going to have. I doubt he ever gets benched for DTR. So I think Tillman for the rest of the season is going to be a legitimate flex play.
I mean, yeah, over these past 2 weeks, he's the wide receiver one in fantasy football in points. That's where it's at with him with this new Browns offense. Doesn't make any sense.
That's just life in the NFL. I personally own Elijah Moore. You have Tillman, so I was kind of hoping it would be Elijah Moore, but it's the Cedric Tillman party. It's Cedric Tillman's world, and we're just living in it.
Cedric Tillman party.
All right, Glover, who you going with?
I'm going with the easiest start of the week that I have seen 17 different times as the first start of the week on my TikTok For You page this week. Starting Josh Downs. I mean, Joe Flacco's starting. It's just like a guarantee that this guy's going to have like 15 plus points. If Steichen stays to his word and Flacco starts rest of season, Downs is a wide receiver two rest of season, in my opinion, because he plays so well with Joe Flacco because Joe Flacco is so accurate and hits those deep shots to Downs. So I think Downs or Pittman are both very good starts this week and going forward with Joe Flacco at quarterback.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, you can just clearly see
Oh,
especially in Pittman more so, you could just pull up sleeper and you can like see the subsection of when
you,
Flacco
you can
plays. So
figure
when
out where A Rich started and where Flacco started pretty easily.
All right, well, I'm starting Cortland Sutton against the Baltimore Ravens. Uh, this is a team that can utterly, unconsequentially not defend the pass whatsoever when everyone's healthy. And now they're a bit banged up as well, making the problem even worse. Glover is who's all back this week? Is Humphrey back?
I believe Humphrey's still questionable, but he practiced in limited fashion yesterday. I think Wiggins should be back. He was dealing with an illness, so he should be fine.
Okay,
But they
so
were both limited. I think odds are at least one of them will play. I'm pretty sure Wiggins will be fine. Humphrey's there with the knee injuries. They might play that one a little slower, a little more uh, comfortably.
so even if they're, oh, I mean, even fully healthy, we've seen that you can torch these guys through the air. And then Sutton specifically, 11 targets last week, by far was the most looked at guy. And he's sneakily been putting up numbers this year. Like just it's over at least the last little bit. For some reason, didn't get a single target against the Saints. I don't know what was up with that. I legitimately don't even remember him not getting a target. I'm just staring at the numbers like I don't know what happened there. But he just gets the targets, right? Like he has multiple games of double digit targets now. So especially against this Ravens team, the Denver offense is starting to come together a little bit more. Bo Nix is starting to he's getting his feet more and more wet as the year goes on. So I think Sutton can just volume alone.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was a guy I was considering because it's pretty easy start at following the Ravens pass defense around as just like you follow the Ravens run defense around for your sits, go the opposite way for the starts. So yeah,
And
uh,
Bo Nix has like consistently looked better and better every single
yeah.
week. I've been low on Bo Nix since before the draft, and he continually gets better every single week. and I'm starting to regret a lot of the things that I've said about Bo Nix.
Hey, people can improve, right? It's all I think everything that was said of him in the first couple of weeks was fair because what he was there not a game where what was the game where he finished with like
It was against the
at
Jets.
halftime?
He had negative passing yards at halftime against the Jets.
I was gonna say, wasn't negative? That sounds so preposterous. I didn't know if that was just making that up or if
No,
that was real.
yeah, that was completely real. That game he finished with 60 passing yards total. And it didn't
Like,
help that, week one, he had 138 passing yards on 26 completions and two interceptions. He,
There was a point where he was like 10 for 42 with five interceptions or something on passes
yeah,
further than 5 yards down the field. Like
yeah.
he just couldn't push the ball at all.
I think it was the Seahawks game where they threw a setup during the game that was like 0 for 10 with two picks when throwing 10 plus yards down the field. Like he couldn't move the ball, he couldn't push the ball down the field. He could only throw checkdowns, but he's gotten better and he's been able to start to hit those longer, more intermediate throws, which makes him a little bit more reliable.
yeah, and Sutton's a solid receiver. I think
Yeah.
he hasn't had a really solid quarterback throwing him the ball. I think he's a solid receiver, but yeah, I think Frosty. I mean, what you were saying and what we were saying at the time, I think was fair. It's
I
just
think it
that
was.
people can improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to get much better than this. I think this is pretty close to his ceiling just because he came in as such an old draft prospect. But he's already looked better than what I thought he was going to look all through this season.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, who are we putting on the bench? Who's sitting for you?
I'm sitting the guy you kind of alluded to. I'm sitting Zay. Um, I think it's Pat Surtain, man. I really if John Harbaugh has any sense of brain cells functioning right now, he is going to run Derrick Henry 45 times this game and not air the ball out once. There is no reason to force Zay into this game script this week. The Broncos are middle of the pack in run defense. That shouldn't stop Derrick Henry. Also, expectation is Keaton Mitchell will be back this week. They won't put him in a full workload, but that is an amazing change of pace for your run game, from an insane bruising back to one of the fastest guys in the league. There's no reason to pass the ball. And if you do, I don't expect it to be to Zay. It'll be working the middle of the field, the weak linebacker core there in Denver with no Alex Singleton. Try and get Likely involved, try and get Andrews involved. Do not force the ball to Zay.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'm not sure what kind of role Deontay Johnson is going to get. Like you can expect him to probably get a couple of targets and be on the
Yeah.
field to some degree. We'll see. And yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like you said, Pat Surtain, is going to be on him. Baltimore moves Zay around, but I mean, if I'm Denver, I would plaster him onto him. Like I'm
Oh, yeah.
not worried about Rashad Bateman beating me or Deontay Johnson in being there for what 3 or 4 days now.
Yeah.
And Zay he only has one touchdown this year, so I'm not too worried about him getting in and kind of ruining the sit. So yeah, I'm there. Is there a trifecta?
So I was going back and forth. The two that I was going to sit were Zay Flowers and Deontay Johnson. Because what we've learned, guys that get traded before this week in Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins both played around a third of the snaps. That's it because they just don't know the playbook yet. I think Deontay might get more playing time than that because I expect them to use him out of the slot. Zay runs 2/3 of his routes outside. Pat Surtain's going to be draped over him like crazy. I'm going to sit Zay Flowers and I'll make the trifecta.
Two trifectas.
Ooh,
Wow. No,
what a
yeah, I
warrior.
think that's the thing. I think with Deontay Johnson, if you're actually legitimately starting him this week, that's on you. You should like that shouldn't even need to be set as a sit because that's just common sense. New receiver traded, run heavy offense, bad matchup. Like, don't start Deontay Johnson until you see something. The same thing goes with D Hop. Amari Cooper is a little different because he is coming in as number one, but we don't know how the target share is going to spread out between Deontay, Zay, and Bateman, and Andrews, and Likely, and Henry. Like there's so many pieces in this offense right now, so it's just not a smart move to start Deontay till you see it.
I think those are wise words, Glovesy. Let's go to tight ends now. I'm low-key the tight end whisperer. Not really. It's just I've started a Njoku the last 2 weeks and sat Frywood the last 2 weeks and it's worked
Yeah.
out. But I promise I'm not touching either of those guys again this week, just to be different. I am starting Dalton Schultz though, versus the New York Jets. Pretty obvious, right? I mean, Diggs and Collins are out, so naturally Schultz should step up. Had some bigger games last year, and honestly, Houston's going to need him. Uh, like I trust his production, even though it's been wonky this year, but that's expected because of how much wide receiver talent there was. But I expect Schultz to do more than the likes of Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to be him and Tank Dell. I am a little bit worried about the Jets linebackers and Cade Stover's snap percentage, who's like been getting in games and getting targets. But I'm gonna go Schultz.
I'm also going Schultz. It's become like, oh, we get another trifecta. There's no way.
Yup, yup.
I'm gonna be like, to be totally honest with it, it's sort of just the point we're at with the tight end position is it's become pretty consensus on the top 10 to 12 guys. They're all you can't start all these guys because you look at Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, like
Joku.
those
Yeah.
those guys are all you're starting them every week. There's not a lot to work with. You got to find the guys with a good matchup. Typically with tight ends, after those top 12, there's maybe like three guys we're all choosing between. And that's sort of where we're at. I mean, last week it was also just a monster tight end week because it was National Tight End Day. But yeah, as you mentioned, increased workload, all sorts of injuries in the Texans room. Schultz is a guy that I think can be reliable and get a in the end zone maybe to get the over this mark.
Yeah, it when one of the two Texans receivers was out last year, there were 6 games. He was over 9 points in 5 of the 6.
Yeah.
So I fully trust Schultz this week, and I think Dell is going to get a lot of attention from the Jets secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think Tank Dell matches up very well if they use Sauce Gardner the way they should. That's a really rough matchup with the size, strength, like disparity there between Tank Dell and Sauce Gardner. If I don't foresee Tank Dell being able to create a lot of opportunities with Sauce on him.
I will say a sneaky start. I'm like, I don't know why you would ever do this if you are in like desperate need. Like, if you need to start a wide receiver for some reason, you just want to take a high upside shot. John Mechie. I'm just saying that's
For those 20-man team leagues, this is where you want to go.
or Xavier Hutchinson. One of them is probably gonna have a decent day. I don't know who. Hutchinson's numbers like appear that he's gonna be that guy, but I don't know. John Mechie's been around a bit longer than him, so just one of those guys is gonna have a good day. I think Texans are winning tonight, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering.
I would hope so. The Jets are 2-6.
Vegas disagrees, so I'll get to that when we go to our best bets. But Vegas disagrees.
Yeah, I know. I know. All right, let's who is sitting on the bench for tight ends, Frosty? Who's riding the pine?
I'm sitting Zach Ertz, who's been surprising this year. He's the tight end 9 on the year, which I honestly didn't even know until I was looking at this. But the Giants' defense is really underrated, especially against tight ends. They allow the 6th fewest yards, and not a single tight end has scored against them this year. I think it might be a rough one for Ertz this game.
Yep, I think that's a smart sit. He's been so quietly just sneaking up the tight end rankings. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's starting Zach Ertz, but he's just getting like 7, 8 points a week.
Well, even like our dynasty league that we're all in, it's like 30-man rosters. There's 10 teams in it. Zach Ertz is a tight end 9, and he's a free agent.
Yeah,
Like he's just nobody's playing this guy, even though he's a top 10 tight end on the season.
I think part of the thing with Ertz, he just has no upside. Like
Yeah.
you look at all like especially because in a dynasty league, he's older. That's part of it. Nobody wants to hold on to a 34-year-old tight end with no upside. But yeah, like he's not making big plays. He's not really like breaking things off. And there are so many like the great fact that we're at this point in the year. When we were in week 1 and 2, I was shocked at how bad the tight ends were. Tight ends are getting real good. Like they're picking it up. There's the top guys are distancing themselves. Guys like Cade Otton, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts are really starting to show up on the stat sheet.
That's a good way to put it. I think that's true. All right, who are you sitting though?
I'm actually sitting Tucker Kraft, the guy I just mentioned. He's putting up good numbers on the stat sheet, but he is so touchdown dependent, and he's playing the best defense against fantasy tight ends in football in the Detroit Lions. Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell have been unreal this year. Plus, you're going to have Brian Branch jumping over the top, and he has also been an absolute weapon on defense. Tucker Kraft just hasn't been. He's touchdown dependent, as I mentioned. Like, if he's not scoring a touchdown, he's not getting you any points. He's scored a touchdown in 4 games. Every game without a touchdown, he's got under 6 points. And I just don't see him getting into the end zone against this tough Lions defense. I think it'll be. I don't know how many times the Packers are really going to score in general against this defense, let alone with a guy like Tucker Kraft. It'll probably be someone beating them over the top, like a Jaden Reed or a Dontavian Wicks with some good speed on the outside.
Especially because we don't know what if Jordan Love is going to play or not. He was at practice, but if Malik Willis is playing, it's probably going to be a 30 carry day for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, especially against this. The Lions' run defense is also really good, so it's going to be a tough game for the Packers in general. I don't think it's a good matchup, and it's a terrible week to have Jordan Love out.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of similar reasoning if Love's going to be out. I'm sitting Hunter Henry, who, with Drake May possibly being out, tight end 10 he's soared up over these last couple of weeks because of Drake May. He was averaging like 15 points or so before Drake May went out last week, and he still almost got over 10 points. And then you could just pull up the game logs and then look what he's done with Jacoby Brissett. It has not been good outside of one random week against Seattle in week 2. Yeah, I mean, and the Titans are a solid team against tight ends, top 10 in average fantasy points and receiving yards allowed to the position. That's about it.
Yeah.
Sit Hunter Henry. If Drake May plays, I'm a bit scared, but it'll be all right.
The other thing that I just got a notification, it's kind of scaring me, but for our Zay Flowers sit, Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced in 2 days. He's out again at practice today. So
With what?
He's got back and knee issues. I think he's just a little banged up. I think it's more of a precautionary thing. I think he will play. But if Josh Johnson is starting, sit every Ravens player except for Derrick Henry. That man is terrible. So please, for the love of God, if Lamar Jackson is out and you are starting a Raven, God help you, because you are screwed.
All right, so that does it for the start sit. At this point, Frosty, you might have to just sit Dobbins with us because we're all starting Chase Brown. We're all sitting Zay Flowers. We're all starting Dalton Schultz. So then me and Glover are sitting Dobbins, but you're sitting Javonte Williams.
Oh my God, we are wow, yeah. It's a pretty consensus week on matchups that suck.
So I guess we'll see how we do on the trifecta of trifectas. Actually, no, wait, don't switch it because I like that.
Oh,
The
that's a
trifecta.
good, yeah, it's a good
We have
line.
the trifecta of trifecta. That's pretty good. That's why, hey, this is why you come here.
That's why they don't
That's why
pay
they pay the
bucks.
big bucks.
All right, let's move on to our best bets. This is not why they pay us the big bucks. We are
No.
we are lo we have
We
been
don't get paid big bucks.
we have been somewhat losing big bucks. Trifecta of losses last week for the fellas. That drops Glover back down to 500. Me and Frosty are sitting at 3 and 5. We were all three of us were close though.
Yep.
We were.
But horseshoes and hand grenades, as a wise man once said, that wise man being Logan Glover. But let's get into our best bets. I mean, Glover, you're still the reigning champ on this. So
I mean, it makes me question what Vegas knows. Line actually just now changed a little bit, not very much. I'm taking Texans money line. Like, how are these guys underdogs against the New York Football Jets? How? I don't care what Vegas knows. I don't care that Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs are injured. I do not care. The Jets will find a way to lose. Like, maybe the injuries are going to play a bigger factor than I'm thinking, but I cannot believe the Texans aren't favored, especially after what the Jets did last week, where they lost to the Patriots without Drake May for half the game. Like, this Jets team is not beating the Texans on prime time with CJ Stroud under center. It's just not happening. I don't care who else is missing. That is stupid.
I will say I don't know if it's worse that the Jets lost to the Patriots without Drake May or the Texans almost lost to the Colts with Anthony Richardson. Because that
I,
guy looked absolutely
yeah,
horrific and still almost led a second half comeback
that's
against
the
them. That was scary.
I won't take Texans plus 2.5 because the Texans or if it was minus, but the Texans aren't gonna win by a lot because it's the Texans. They haven't won any game by a lot this year, and you know that. So they won't win by a lot, but they'll win. They should 100% win.
It's not just this year. Last year they were a big one score team. Like you'll see those stats. You always see a graphic by the end of the year, and it's like, oh, the one score game
Mhm.
teams. I believe Houston was had the most one score games last season as well. It's just I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just they can't finish or I don't know, but they still come out with the wins. So tough position to be in. It gets scary, but to play devil's avocado here a little bit. Um, I can see a world where the Jets win, unfortunately. I can see a world where this defense just absolutely locks down this offense just purely because the offensive line can't protect. I'm afraid for what Quentin Williams and this defensive line is going to do. Uh, I'm very afraid, actually. And we'll see. Like, it's a great secondary. It's just a great defense. They got solid linebackers too. Like, I'm pretty afraid. We need Joe Mixon to run all over New
The
York.
thing with the O line though, the Patriots O line is probably the worst in football. They only allowed 2 sacks last week. So like this Jets pass rush is very overrated. Like Hassan Reddick, I think Bill Belichick called him out on the Pat McAfee show about like how he was just like taking terrible angles. He was just running by the quarterback, and there was a couple of clips where he literally went around and just ran behind the quarterback and never made a contact with him. And Hassan Reddick lost it on Twitter and then made his first tweet in months and was like, "Oh my God, how dare you talk to me like this?" He was terrible, but that's to be expected when you miss 5 months of practice. So I don't think this pass rush is all that. It's really just Will McDonald's been great, and Quinn Williams is more of a run stuffer.
I was gonna say Will McDonald has like 8 sacks on the year.
He's been great, yeah, but I don't trust him to be. And he lined. I'm pretty sure he lines up on the left side where Laramie Tunsil will be on him. He's unless they move him over to where Titus Howard is going, because that would be a lot smarter. But
Yeah, we'll see. I'll ride. I'll do it. I've already picked the Texas twice this year, and it's like fucked me. But I'll do the spread.
okay,
I'll go Texans plus 2.5. Frosty, where are you gonna go?
I'm not going to tonight's game. I'm going to the Rams at the Seahawks. Rams minus 1.5.
I like
These
that.
teams are going in opposite directions right now. The Rams are soaring. They're finally healthy. The defense looks good. The offense looks incredible. Matt Stafford looks like prime Stafford again with Puka and Cup back. Kyron Williams looks incredible. And the Seahawks are just in a free fall. Their defense has fallen apart. Geno Smith has finally come back down to earth. And I think people are realizing he's maybe not like a top 20 quarterback like he was playing like he was early in the season. Their offense is down there with, or their offensive line is down there with the Patriots. They have arguably the worst tackle duo in football.
oh
Probably,
yeah,
I think they're going to get eaten alive by the Rams D line, and I think minus 1.5 is kind of disrespectful to the Rams, to be honest.
Disrespectful.
I
They
mean
play.
you're not
They
wrong.
just beat the Giant or the Vikings.
Yeah,
You can tell me the Vikings aren't a better. They beat the Vikings by 10, I think.
10.
Yeah,
You can tell me the Vikings aren't a better team than the Seahawks,
they
I mean,
are
especially not
right
by
now, at least.
and Puka will be more healthy. He only played
exactly.
50% of the snaps last week.
He looked pretty healthy to me
Yeah,
last
I
week.
know, but he
So,
won't be on a snap count maybe this week.
geez. Well, I like that one. I do like that one.
Okay.
Uh, did anything else stand out to anybody?
Got a couple weird ones I want to pull out here that are
Okay.
a little more drastic. Bills minus 5.5 against the Dolphins. I think they're going to slaughter them because the Bills and Josh Allen own the Miami Dolphins and it's in Buffalo. And the other one that is kind of out there is Panthers +7 versus the Saints. The Saints look terrible. And the Panthers were like okay against the Broncos, who have a pretty good defense. I could see this being a close game, division game too. I could just see it being a little closer than +7. I don't think the Panthers are going to win, but I think it could be a little closer and maybe like a 3-point game, 4-point game kind of thing.
Isn't Carr supposed to be back this week?
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, there's a chance. There's a chance he's back.
It says he's expected to play.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, maybe that changes things, but still, the defense has been like I don't know if the Saints' problems are all quarterback right now.
No, that's fair. That's
I
completely
mean,
fair.
they lost 3 of these 6 games with Carr under center.
100%. What a
Did
fall
anybody
for them too, by the way.
did anybody look at Lions are only -3.5 against the Packers that might not have Jordan Love?
True.
That also seems
It's
kind of
actually
crazy to me.
down to 2.5 right
Oh
now.
Down to
yeah.
2.5 now? Oh my! Like that's. I think that's moving in the wrong direction. But
Yeah, without Jordan Love too. Hey, that's
I
another
think
good one.
didn't Jordan Love practice today? I think Jordan Love practiced today. I think that's why I think it's
he
why
did.
it's down.
Mm,
I don't know. It's a divisional game. Who knows where it's really gonna go?
yeah. Well, all right. I think that'll do it for us. Hey, anything else? No. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster here. Subscribe if you want to check out some more of our NFL content. We would love for you to subscribe. Okay.
please.
All right. Take care. And as always, keep it buzzing.